I welcome you to South Africa, Christy.
Thank you.
First time here, first time in Africa.
I love it.
And what's the first few days been like?
I feel like I'm at home here. I really do. Everybody's been so nice. That's the one thing I thought when I first came here is that the people are amazing, like amazing spirit, and so kind and giving. And it's not what you get everywhere in the world. So I'm really impressed. I love the weather. I love the space. The gallery is so aesthetic and beautiful. You have amazing style. So I'm really honored to be here.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I mean, Christy, this has been a year and a bit in the making
Yes.
to have this exhibition.
Yes.
And I'm sure the audience would like to know a little bit more about yourself. I mean, I was very fortunate for the first couple of days to spend some time and just find out your background.
Yeah.
You in your early years, you were born, you said, in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you spent your entire childhood in Hawaii?
I never left Hawaii. So my parents didn't have enough money to have us go on vacation or anything. So I grew up on Oahu, the main island, and my great-grandparents actually moved to Hawaii from Germany originally. So I have a lot of family there. A lot of mixed, because there's so many races in Hawaii.
Yeah.
We have a lot of Japanese, Chinese, everything you think of. So the family's kind of mixed along the line, Yeah.
So of European descent, German?
I actually have English, Irish, Italian, German, Scottish, Polish, and French in me.
Gosh.
All European, but...
That's why you feel so at home in South Africa, because that's how South African populace is made up.
Really?
Exactly
Okay.
the same mix.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of the Dutch and French and
Yeah.
Polish and German and Italian and Greek all immigrated to South Africa at some stage, just after the Second World War.
Right.
So that's why you feel at home.
Yeah.
You actually sort of put my finger on it.
Yeah.
You had the same sort of mix.
Yeah.
So now back to your psyche, because I mean anybody's dream as a kid, you say to someone, you're going to have a child of growing up on an island and be surrounded with these in the Pacific with these wonderful breaking waves, the ocean.
Yeah.
It's a subtropical, tropical sort of climate there, and I mean Hawaii is known not only as a great surfing destination, but it's also known as an area where they have the most wonderful floral sort of
Yes.
displays and wonderful flora, indigenous flora,
Yes.
which is quite exotic, and the hibiscus being one of them,
Yeah.
and the orange panji.
We have a lot of the same flowers that you have here, which I didn't realize until I started making the collection. The protea
The protea,
and the bird of paradise and a lot of these.
Strelitzia.
Right, and I was the orchid, of course, but it was interesting growing up in Hawaii because the first thing was the water. So
Yeah.
I was really attracted to the water, and just naturally, I grew up. My father was a surfer, and he really taught us the respect of water because water is so nurturing, but it's also very powerful. So if you don't have that respect, especially if you're going out surfing, which we did a lot, my dad taught us that you look at the water, you really have to understand what's happening, and then that's when you go in. And so we learned that growing up, just that respect. And I mean, water's everywhere. So it's rain, ocean, waterfalls. I mean, it's just everywhere, and it's so healing. So the first thing I would do when I did move to Los Angeles when I was in my 20s was every time I'd come home, I'd just go straight into the ocean and I would feel healed, like I was rejuvenating.
Because that's brings me back to my original sort of assessment and analysis of it. Because I would have said, as a child growing up in Hawaii,
Yeah.
significance of water, the essence of life.
Yes.
Because without water,
There is no life.
There's no life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Life, no water and no light.
Right.
Two very significant things.
Right.
But when you're in a climate like that, or in an island like that,
Yeah.
you're going to be surrounded by light dancing off the water, like you said, the waterfalls,
Oh,
the
yeah.
sound of the waterfalls,
Yeah.
the droplets of dew or rain, running off the leaf or flower.
Right.
So this must have had because you look at your body of work, you can realize they must have had significant things that had a tremendous impact on your psyche. One
Yes.
being water,
Yes.
and the other being flowers.
Right.
So we look at your work, we see a combination of the human form,
Right.
which is another aspect of life. And as we
Right.
know, the human body is made up of almost 70% water.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, and the flower is, I think, 99.9%.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
Okay.
again, you're looking at a body of water, which is really
Yeah.
a field.
Yeah.
Maybe you look at a painting, you look at a canvas in the field, your field is water.
Yeah.
You raised this point earlier, your father taught you respect for water.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's wanting in the world today is people don't respect how important and significant water is
I know.
for the sustainability of mankind.
Yes.
And I mean, it's relevant for you because every one of your works is something created in water.
Right.
So it's a rebirth.
Right.
It's the reincarnate. And sometimes important because a lot of your figures you use are more mature adults. And I think a lot of us, only when we live to spend a bit of time on this planet, do we come to realize the importance of respecting the environment.
Right.
And the importance of looking after water.
Yes.
Because it's so essential
Yeah.
to the sustainability of mankind.
Yeah.
So we're going to your work now.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned to me briefly the other night that your formal education lay with in film and photography. Could you just tell me a bit about those early formative years, that your more sort of educational structures that sort of gave you a more rigid education?
Right. I started when I was 13. My first love was poetry.
Okay.
So I was writing a lot of poetry, and really that's important right now for me as far as the works, although it may not become.
No, they're poetic. They're poetic.
I do read a lot of poetry, and I read a lot, and it's where I get a lot of the inspiration too for the pieces. Just even a line in a poem can inspire me. But I did study filmmaking, so I was in San Diego State studying filmmaking, and so I've got a bachelor's degree in that. But I would say most of my education was self-taught because I was learning more theory, and I was already making films. There was a program when I was in high school, and I won all these awards, and I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never done film before, but it was so natural. I became obsessed. There were no other subjects in school that I liked. I wasn't doing very well, math and all these other things, but as soon as I had my first photography class where I was in the darkroom, and I just became obsessed. I would lock myself in the darkroom I had an hour. So it was my turn, I had an hour, and I would just mass produce these photos. And I have a stack of them now, and they're all yellow because I never processed them completely because I was so in a rush to get them done. But I became obsessed, and then I had the filmmaking class, and again, I became obsessed with it, and that's when I really knew, because that was my passion. So then I went to film school, but I feel like I was making maybe better films before I went to school.
Yeah.
I sort of stopped in a way after that, and then I really started into photography full time, and it wasn't until I found the water, though. I call the water a medium. It's a medium for me because I sometimes you're not even aware that the water is there. It's just something I use to create something magical, and I need it. I can't create it on land, I guess you could say. I have to have the water. So as soon as I found that, I became, again, obsessed. I wasn't very interested in the other photographs. I just would take them, and I have millions of them. But that was when I really knew that I had found something magical, that I could create I could paint with the water. Using a camera and the water, I could paint. That's how I refer to it. So with fabrics and colors and blending of everything, I could create something that wasn't there, that your eye couldn't see. Because if I looked down in the water, I would see something completely different. And when I captured it, there was this moment that we got. So.
Because I think, you take each element on its own, photograph them statically.
Right.
You'd have an arrangement of flowers or elements of flowers that you decided to bring into this medium.
Yeah.
You'd have your bundle of fabric.
Yeah.
You'd have your selected model.
Yeah.
And you took each of those, they wouldn't have the same sort of story.
Yeah.
And I think the
they
medium,
go well
the
together.
water, they work well together because you created that. So for me, the one question I didn't ask you is it a series, is it individual shots, or is it a film that you take and then you select the most appropriate? Because if you look at it, they're all figurative aspects. But in the water, it almost is a transition into abstraction, where you can't clearly grapple with what you see. It provokes a lot of further thought, because it can even be a little intimidating, because we look at something like this, but we don't get the answers immediately.
Yeah.
When you look at something that's figurative,
Right.
you get an immediate answer
Right.
in your own mind.
Right.
Because we're all trying to resolve in our own head what is
What
it
is
we're
it?
engaging
Yeah.
in, you know?
Yeah.
And the more I've looked at your work, because I've been living with it for the last couple of days, you know, and I've got time to focus on an aspect of the work,
Yeah.
and then look at maybe the bottom half, top half, or particular
Yeah.
aspect of the picture, and then at a later stage I'll just absorb it with not really focusing. And I
Right.
think this is where the genius lies, is that you've been able to create a new idea, a new concept, and a new technique, which has shifted from, which has put photography in another dimension. So I mean, everyone aspires to be, today we look at painters and sculptors and photographers. But as I look at you today, you'd be the essence of a multimedia artist.
Yeah.
And you've got something there that is quite different, and nothing is the same. In fact, when you look at the pieces, you can never redo that moment.
Right.
It's split second, 100th of a second.
Yes, and I have tried to recreate images that were really popular, and I've tried. It's like the model, the night, the moonlight is
The
different.
light,
Everything is different. I mean, the first shoot I did, I remember one night the moon was full, and it completely changed the lighting of the images because I shoot at night, so it was really important. But
And then you mentioned light. So light's the next thing, because water without light,
yeah,
you know, won't be able to appreciate body of water.
Right.
It will just be something that you can go into and that you won't be able to visually engage with. So you
Right.
do need the light.
Oh, the light is so key, yeah. And I'm going back to your last question too, because you were asking if there were moving images.
Yes.
And I do shoot films, and I create these little sort of breathing videos, I like to call them, but
Yeah.
these are actually all stills that you see here in the show. And you're right about it, that moment being so important, and I really have to work it to get it. And it's really not supposed to work. I'm breaking all the rules of photography.
Yeah.
Because the lighting is, my camera is saying low light, it's giving me warning signals, and I'm just overriding everything, and I'm doing it by sight. So everything is just visual, and it's like I have to be there really present to capture a moment and change it and say, and guide it and say, we're getting close, but we need to work it. And when I start to feel like we're getting close, I work it, I push them, I just keep pushing them until I know that, okay, they're exhausted, or we can't go any further, let's try something else, you know. But anyway, so that's important. And the lights, yes, it's
Light
key. Yes.
I think is very significant.
Yeah,
Then working in water, when you've got these elements submerged,
yeah,
you are going to have this sort of blurred effect.
yeah,
So you're also going to have a refractory effect. When you
yes,
look at a diamond, you'll always say, you know, a raw diamond, it doesn't have the brilliance,
right,
but it's how the diamond is cut.
right,
Because
yes.
it's cut correctly, it will draw the right light
Right.
at the right angles to give
It's
it
exactly,
its radiance,
Yes.
its brilliance, and
yes,
its sparkle.
yes.
And I think you've managed to accomplish that. So when I look at it now, even just talking to you, I feel that I relate to the water
Yeah,
and the power of the water. Because as you said, if you try and grab water, you can't contain it.
Right.
Unless you put a container in it, you can't really scoop up a hand
Right.
a small bit in it.
yeah,
So water is really hard to contain.
right,
And you know, we're all born in a room which is contained.
yes,
But once the water breaks, you know, it gives birth to a child.
yes,
It's a transformation
right,
into another reality, another set of circumstances. So you orchestrate the circumstances, but there's
Right.
things that are, which I would go, you said you use your eye, but I think there's a strong link between the eye and your intuitive side,
of course,
as
yeah.
well as your aesthetic sense,
Yes,
that you'll know and capture that exact moment where you
right,
feel you've reached the peak of the aesthetic statement.
yeah,
You've also maximized that.
yeah,
Not at the expense of the sensuality, the emotional content of your work, because your work harnesses a huge amount of emotional content. I mean, in this world today, we're in a world, a pretty broken world, a world that's you know, up and down, and it's almost like your body of work would come to ensure that there's hope for mankind. You've created something that people can tap into and really say, this is beautiful. Your works are not political. You're apolitical. Your works are not harsh to the eye.
Yeah.
Your works are pleasing aesthetically, but importantly, the color will really draw the attention of the viewer, but it awaken an emotional response within yourself to the works that you're engaging with.
Yeah.
And I think this is the power of your work. For me, I'm still trying to identify the one work that really I couldn't live without. And each time I look at a different work from a different angle, I'm totally overwhelmed by it. So, I mean, I've watched some of the early series. You mentioned earlier your first series was Siren.
Yeah.
Could you tell me how have you evolved from the first series, Siren, what was your next series, and to where you are now? And perhaps expand as to where you will be going, because I believe there was a bit of experimentation with this body of work.
Yeah.
And from perhaps outside influence,
Yeah.
that you really raised the bar and pushing the boundaries.
Yeah. Okay, so Siren was actually not my first collection, but it was the first that I released. So I was experimenting for maybe 9 years. I experimented for a very long time. And I feel like I was in that time developing this style, because people usually are shooting completely under the water, and I'm shooting from above.
Yeah.
So we are getting refraction of light, because light travels differently in the water than it does in the air. So I was using the physics to create the effects.
Yeah.
It wasn't done in Photoshop.
Just going to stop you right there.
Yeah.
The body of work you're shooting,
Mm-hmm.
are you shooting in a swimming pool with solid walls, or have you considered that you've got the light, which is good, with the angle is the light,
Yeah.
permeating the water, but had you raised the body of water with glass sides,
Yeah.
almost create almost 360. You
Yeah.
have light reflected to the sides and the
Yes.
front of it.
That would be amazing. And there are some pools like that in Las Vegas, like the Cirque du Soleil performers, they have these really special pools that I've been really wanting to shoot.
But I distracted you. So go back to what I first asked.
Okay, so yeah, Siren started sort of in a time in my life where I had lost everything that I was working on, and kind of hit a very, a low in my life. And that collection is very, very powerful for me, because it was a time where, we're talking about the diamond, and the concept of that collection was that, when you look in a store window and you see one diamond, it's so beautiful, one diamond. And I think it was Zales or something, they did that. And then you go to another window and they've got 1,000 diamond rings, they want to sell you everything, but it was that one diamond with all this black space. And that was what made it powerful. It was the space that made it powerful. And so that was the starting. I was reading a lot about space and time. I was just so into this. And so I chose to have a lot of blacks. But the space is so important, and people would actually crop the images. Like if a magazine picked it up, they'd crop the black out. And I would just get so frustrated. That's the important part, is the space, We don't want just the figure in there. So that's what that collection started as, and
That's probably when you earlier mentioned,
yeah,
the medium.
yeah,
And I refer to it as the field,
right,
because the black is the field.
right,
So
right.
it's the darkness.
It can
which
be
creates the
anything.
contrast,
Yes,
for really to pop the
right.
colors.
And when people saw those images too, they didn't know where this person was, so it didn't look like water. They could be in outer space, they could be floating,
Sure.
and that's what was so exciting to me about that collection. But then I went to Hawaii and spent 6 months there, and then I created the Odyssey collection. And that really started with a lot of reading mythology. I was so into mythology. And friends, it was funny because people would give me books, and then I would start reading and get so inspired about these half human, half animal beings. How do you find the hope? How do you grow from that? So that was the starting. And I think that's kind of come with me as I've progressed. That concept is always there in the background. But as the collections are moving, I think you're seeing me in my life and how I'm growing. You're seeing, like, okay, the next collection was Reckless Unbound, and it was reckless. I wanted to be reckless. I wanted to throw paint on the canvas, and that collection is very messy. I let the bubbles come through. I let it be wild. I let the light blow out, so you see this white, shining light up above. And so that was, those two words are really important to me. I mean, I spent a long time researching and writing in my notebook to find Reckless Unbound. It was like, so that was a whole new world.
So what you're saying is, from where you were Odyssey,
yeah,
at a very low point in your life. So obviously your own personal journey.
Yeah, yeah.
And your own experiences.
Yeah.
On the subconscious.
Yeah.
What
You're seeing that in the collections.
Are reflecting.
Oh, yes.
Interesting enough, in your body works.
Yes.
So you move from Odyssey into Siren.
Siren to Odyssey.
Siren to Odyssey.
And then to Reckless Unbound.
Okay, that was a clear shift again.
Yeah, that was actually a really big shift. And people were like, whoa, okay, so all this color. And the other ones had the black backgrounds. And then I moved into Celestial Bodies, which was inspired by nebulas in space. And again, I think I do have a fascination with space. And it seems to always come through in the works. But, you know, if you look at a space nebula and you look at one of my images, you see I really, that's what I was really going for. And just our connection to it all, you know, and how are we connected to this greater, you know, universe? Yeah, to the universe. So, and then there's a lot of double images of like each, you know, two bodies, and I put a double image, and that was just our duality, you know, this yin and yang, and that was so key also to who we were, and that, I guess that's also always fascinated me, the dark and the light, and that combination, and how they both need each other somehow to move to the next step. So I would say most of my works are me, I'm trying to understand mankind and understand me, and trying to bring some hope into things for myself and for others too, and to sort of dive into being vulnerable. Because when you're in the water, and I did a lot of tests on myself in the water. I was the model when I first started, so I understand exactly what it's like to be down there. And it's difficult. The water is seeping into your nose. Your eyes are, you know, it's going into your throat, you're coughing it up, and you have all these fabrics down there, and they're weighing you down. I don't know if you've ever jumped in the water with clothes on, but you do feel like you're drowning a little bit. And so the models have to go through that, and that is what's so fascinating to me, because that's like you become vulnerable, you let yourself become vulnerable, and then you learn and you grow and you build these talents, and then there's this hope, you know, and then at the end you're triumphant, and you feel amazing. And the girls after the shoot, or the guys, they usually feel amazing. I mean, everybody's laughing, and they call me and tell me how amazing they feel the next day, because they've done something maybe they didn't think they could do. And most of them are not models.
But it's almost like a baptism.
It is,
so
yeah.
It's a ritual, because
yes.
when people get a baptism, you know, especially in a lot of Christian churches, they come out there.
Yeah.
And it's symbolic,
yes.
you know, to a new life,
right.
to washing away the old,
right.
to a rebirth.
Right.
So I think that's evident in the work too, because the work is also, for me, harness a great deal of spirituality.
Yes.
Because they're not fixed, they're not static. You almost like placing a human form and fabric and flowers into a body of water.
Yeah.
They're in suspension.
Yes.
So when you say, you know, you don't float, because sometimes but at the end of the day is you're not grounded.
Right.
So the parallels between the celestial body in space,
yes.
you know, with no, almost defy gravity.
Right.
So
And that's what you do in the
I find
water.
that quite interesting in water. You know, for me, you'll feel as though you move differently.
Right. Right.
You know?
And your mind shuts off.
Sure.
Which because I went through it so many times, you know, I would say to myself, okay, do this or move your leg there. And when you go down, none of it happens, because your mind doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful.
Because you can't visually orientate yourself.
Right.
So
you're focused on surviving.
Exactly. There's no reference points.
Right.
Because often with the reference point, you're walking down a path, and so there's a path. And
right.
You just know where you're walking. But once I think with water, and water has this, that you have to submerge yourself. You have to totally
You have to let go.
commit.
You have to let go.
You have to let go.
Yeah.
And you learn to let go. Well, Is that still something you work?
That's something I'm working on. But I worked the model, actually, one of the models in the shoot, she was so worried about doing it, but I just told her this. I said, you need to let go. Let go of everything and just be.
So do you sort of live by that sort of?
I try to, I do. I'm working on it, and I think that's what you're seeing in the images is my growth and my wanting. I want to let go more. And I really do most of the time, especially when I'm creating. That is really the best place for me to let go is in the images. And that's why I really prefer to live in the art. And I have to really let go of watching the news. I think there was one of the galleries I was working with was so surprised that I didn't have a television. I didn't know what was going on in the world. And I have to let go because it's so harsh. And in order to create these works, I have to just be free in my mind to just live in almost a fantasy world it's something I would want for people. Like when I put an image here, I said, that's where I want you to live. And that's what I say too, is I want to live in those images.
So it's almost like you're creating this pseudo-reality, which is outside the physical restraints of what we are accustomed to.
Yes.
The gravity, the limitation that you have within a human
and
form.
It's beautiful colors.
Because almost a lot of your models may have a lot of fabric wrapped around them.
Yeah.
But it's not styled or restricted in the functionality and movement of the form.
Yeah.
So I find that also quite interesting. It's almost like it's meant to be there.
Yeah.
But it's almost, it could be, when I look at the fabric, it reminds me almost of seaweed in the ocean.
Yeah.
That same kind of move.
Yeah, and it moves where it wants to move in the water. And you can't control it sometimes. You need to just let it go. It's usually completely gone by, we do a couple shoots and the fabric's gone. It's just floated away and it has a life of its own in the water. So, I mean, that's what I love too, is that and maybe that's what fascinates me, it's unpredictable. And I never get bored.
Are you unpredictable?
I think so. Most people would think I am, but...
No, I don't think so. I mean, I've seen a couple of days. I think this could be your German, European...
I have the practical side, for sure,
yes. You're quite strict discipline.
Yeah.
So it's not, often when you say reckless, I've seen you, there's quite a focused individual with very clear objectives in mind. Even though the actual shoot may be free, you've got to, even on a subconscious level, you know you want to go, what you want to do.
Well, when I say reckless too, I mean more like reckless in my heart.
Yeah.
I mean, I still have to live here and to, get along, and I just mean reckless inside and letting go inside that way,
So what's your message to society? What are you trying to say? You put in one sentence. I mean, I look at the work and I feel a strong spirituality.
Yeah.
I feel a strong, the rebirth of society, almost realizing where we've gone wrong.
Yeah.
And going back to our roots.
Yeah.
Going back to the womb of life.
Yeah.
Where we were embryonic.
Simplicity.
and starting again with a knowledge of what to do and what not to do.
Right. Well, when we know who we really are, then we can do that. I feel like humanity's sort of lost that in all the material sides and the wars and the fighting and it's gone too far, and I think maybe we're reaching a place where we're realizing that we've gone too far and that we need to find who we really are and that we really do love each other and we need each other and we are connected. Even if we think we're not, we are so
because
connected.
I mean, a lot of your work, when I look at it, it's a contemporary version of the romantic era, the romanticized era, the rock painters, Caravaggio, Rubens.
Yes.
Voluptuous woman, everything in excess, abundance,
drama,
the beauty of life, just engaging with it and in abundance.
Yeah.
So what I do feel is almost the fruitful feast is what I look at the works.
Yes.
I mean, there's fabrics and flowers, but no fruit. Yet when I look at your work, it's almost it almost makes it edible. It's something that I want to go out there and eat it.
Yeah.
So it's quite appealing. So that brings us to this collection, Hybrids.
Yeah.
Have you found working on this collection and working with a goal in mind, knowing that you're coming to do a solo exhibition at Grahamstown Art Gallery in Johannesburg in Africa? I mean, because most people when you hear of Africa, it's like lions that have on the streets, And how would the African or the South African market respond to this kind of aesthetics? And would there be a universal resonance that identifies it? Because that's also important.
Absolutely.
In your work, I see a universal language that people can tell.
I'm so tired of all the class distinctions and race. I mean, I come from Hawaii, so there it's such a melting pot of different cultures and different types of people. And then I lived in Los Angeles after. It's like you get every race, every type of person. I love that. I love that. I couldn't do without that, and I want people to find more peace in that. And I feel in this collection too, it was pushing the boundaries for me. I was really excited to come to Africa. It was just a new territory, and it was a challenge for me. How do we communicate with the people? And so actually in this one, I did use a lot of different ethnicities in the models, and that was really important. And I always do that. I always just do that anyway, but for some reason I felt that was really important in this collection, is the combining of the races together in this beautiful spirit. And that was just one of the messages. And my work really is about freedoms, you know.
Because what I see in your work is exactly on that.
Yeah.
It's regardless of race,
right,
or culture,
right,
you know, or language,
yeah,
or religion.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
We all are essentially human.
Yes.
And we all engage. Everybody, I mean, any person's dream holiday would be to an exotic island. Where you're surrounded by tepid water.
Yeah.
Beautiful fragrances.
Yeah.
Wonderful floral displays.
Right.
And lovely greenery.
Right.
It's
so peaceful.
It's something that people aspire to. So I think we spoke earlier this week.
Yeah.
I relate to you. I think both of us are poetic in our thinking.
Yes.
And we realize that there's an aspect of living that the world's forgotten.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, that's one of the reasons I've selected you as an artist to join the gallery.
Yeah.
Because I identify with you as a person. I relate to the content of your work and your objectives, what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Because anybody living with any one of these works at any time of the day, regardless of whatever happened in their day, if they sat back and had a glass of wine, or not even have a glass of wine, a glass of water,
right,
you'd feel happy looking at your work.
Yeah, that's really important to me. I sometimes as I'm keeping notebooks of ideas, you know, I sort of, if I am paying attention to what's happening in the world, I want to comment on something, especially politically, and then I always go back and I say no, because that's not the answer, you know. When you start resisting those things, then you create more of them. So for me, I said, no, I need to just create beauty. I need to remind people that I want them to look at the image and to see themselves, like a reflection, that they see maybe their true selves, you know, in some work of art, that they see a piece of themselves that they remember. And I really feel when I see people, that they are tapping into themselves. Maybe they feel, oh, the work is making me feel good. No, it's something they're seeing in themselves. This is what I feel. So they're maybe connecting to that.
Because many childhood memories you had were always those fun afternoons as a kid coming from school.
Yeah.
There was like a school pool, a public pool, or a family pool.
Of course.
And you know, the set of the barbecue in the background.
Yeah.
These were spiritual engagements with people really engaging each other,
right,
embracing each other.
Right.
And
right.
I think one of the things we haven't touched on is the sense of love. Because when you look at this just awakens a love of life, a love of the beauty around us.
Yeah.
It almost takes off the scales,
yeah.
it takes off
the blinders,
and it exposes us to what we can, how we can live, how we can express ourselves,
right,
how we can transform ourselves.
Right.
So nothing is lost.
Oh no,
so
nothing
it all brings
is lost.
us back, at whatever age we are on our journey in life, we can experience this rebirth, this reincarnate, and embrace the things that are important to living, to life.
Exactly.
And that is living.
Right.
Christy, it's really lovely to have you here, and I thank you so much for. I mean, it's not an easy flight all the way.
It was a long flight.
The other side of the US.
But
I'm
so happy to be here. So thank you for having me.
And I trust that our collaboration, and the sort of joining the gallery, will be good for you, and we can spread your evangelic word to the world that all's not lost. There is hope. There is life.
Yes.
And we all stand together in unity and see the world through the eye of Christy Lee Rogers, and through her lens, it's going to be a transformation how we approach things and our attitude, moment to
I love
moment
that.
and day to life.
I love that.
Thank
It's
you very
beautiful.
much.
Thank you. Thank
Good
you.
having you.